There's been a lot of talk on the other side of the aisle, and I want to be clear. No one in this room is in the judicial branch, and no one in this room that I'm aware of is a medical doctor. If you believe that the provisions that the VA has put forward have a legal problem, you have the right to take up that case and put it through the courts. We are the legislative branch. We make laws, we pass laws. We are not judge and jury. Take it to a court if you're concerned. That is your right. In terms of making decisions on behalf of women, if you want to take a veterans bill and make it about abortion, then let's do it. What you are saying, and you're saying in front of the American people, is that you believe a veteran who has been raped, who is the victim of incest, and who is having a dangerous miscarriage does not deserve access to abortion. You are saying, unless you correct me and tell me what you believe a woman deserves to have when she has been raped, the victim of incest, or is in the middle of a dangerous miscarriage, if you can't state it, then be clear you believe in no exceptions for women, a cold, heartless, violent approach to women's health. You want to ban all abortions. That is your goal. Many of you have been open about that. And if you flip the House, we know that you will put forward a full ban on all abortion for all states. You've been clear about it. You want to turn a veterans bill into an abortion bill. Let's do it. Not one of you are a medical doctor. Not one of you. What the VA guidelines say is that if you've been raped or the victim of incest or a medical professional deems that your pregnancy is a risk to your health, the one of 4 women in this country who has had a miscarriage, probably many women in this room, that you are a better judge of who gets to decide the future of their life and not a medical doctor? Who do you think you are? You are politicians. We are all on this floor elected officials and not medical professionals. If it was your wife, your daughter, who was suffering through a miscarriage, are you going to tell her she can't until her fever gets high enough, until she's bleeding harder? That's what's happening in the state of Texas right now. If that's what you want for veterans, shame on you. Shame on you. I'm sorry. We built this bill to be bipartisan. I sought your support particularly, sir. And you're making it a political issue. Shame on you. You all have pictures of veterans in your office, proud to show your pride in our veterans. It should be the most bipartisan issue in the world, and you're making it political. Shame on you.
Another veterans bill has come up for a vote, which means that the We Love Our Troops party has lined up to vote against it. I legitimately cannot remember the last time the GOP actually voted for the same military that they grandstand about supporting. In this instance, House Republicans opposed the Solid Start Act, which would ensure that the Department of Veterans Affairs proactively reaches out to service members in their first year transitioning back to civilian life to connect them with critical benefits and services that they've earned. So why oppose it? Because within that bill, there existed a provision that the VA will be, quote, providing women veterans with information that is tailored to their specific healthcare and benefit needs, meaning that if a female vet needs reproductive care, she'll be afforded it. And because the Republican Party's position now is that all abortion should be banned nationwide, a point that they're broadcasting on a daily basis, despite what some of their more vulnerable members might be suggesting to the contrary, they'd be willing to sink yet another veteran bill to drive that point home. And here's what's most ridiculous. The Department of Veterans Affairs announced on September 2nd, almost a month ago, that it would begin providing access to abortion services to the nation's hundreds of thousands of female veterans and VA beneficiaries. And so that policy is a done deal. What the provision in the Solid Start Act does is codify it into law, but it's not actually a departure from existing policy. In other words, this was a gimme for Republicans. Nothing actually changes on the abortion front, but still they were willing to sink the rest of a veteran bill, all just to signal the extent to which they were against abortion. They chose to hurt our vets because they wanted to try and score a symbolic win for the far-right base that rules their party. And let's be clear, this wasn't a one-off. Republicans have been perfectly willing to screw over America's vets if it means they could help themselves politically. Remember, just months ago, Republicans came together to vote against the PACT Act, which afforded funding to sick veterans who needed access to healthcare services. At the same time, Joe Manchin had announced his deal with Schumer on what would ultimately become the Inflation Reduction Act. And so Republicans decided that they would punish Democrats for the crime of trying to legislate by voting against veteran health care. Something to remember the next time one of these hacks claims to support our troops. And look, it's already beyond clear that all of the things Republicans claim to have supported in the past never actually meant anything. Remember, this is a party that claimed to be for family values, only to then turn around and pledge loyalty to a guy who paid out God knows how many hush money payouts for affairs. It's a party that claimed to be for states' rights, only to then sign on to the Texas lawsuit attempting to nullify the election results in other states, all because they didn't like the results. It's a party that claimed to be for fiscal responsibility, only to then add $7.8 trillion to the national debt when they had unified control of government. It's a party that claims to be pro-police, only to then have voted against state and local funding that would aid police departments. And of course, a party that claims to be for the military, only to then vote against nearly every provision to actually support those members of the military the moment it becomes politically inconvenient. These things aren't actual values. They were what the Republican Party hid behind while attempting to market themselves favorably to Americans. In reality, here's what the GOP supports: tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires, banning abortion nationwide, eliminating Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, banning books, punishing doctors, preventing people from voting, pretending that climate change doesn't exist, coddling fossil fuel companies and dirty energy companies, eliminating any restrictions that might protect people from gun violence, and refusing to accept the results of any election where they don't win. This is an agenda that has minority support at best. And of course, they'll never acknowledge that agenda outright because it's too unpopular. And so instead, you're left with culture wars and migrant caravans and pretending that immigrants are coming to steal your jobs and that trans people are going to go into the wrong bathrooms to assault your kids, and on and on and on. It's a tactic as old as it is predictable, but their through line is clear. They are doing whatever they can to deceive you. So the takeaway here is simple. Republicans are so hell-bent on banning abortions everywhere in this country that they will screw over anyone to get their way. So if you have friends, family, neighbors, coworkers who believe that Americans should enjoy autonomy over their own bodies, then make sure they know what happened here. And more importantly, make sure that you're doing your part in helping them make a plan to vote. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can click the thumbnail right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work even further, the best way is to subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. There you can check out my interviews with major players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin, and so many more. Plus other interviews that live exclusively on the podcast. That link is also right here on this screen, or just search No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen wherever you listen to podcasts.